46 presidents have touched foot in the US White House, and this video will list each one of them, along with some crazy facts about them that aren't widely known to the general public. There will be some interesting things you'll learn about your favorite president, or hear a name that doesn't sound like someone who should be running a country. And there were a few that didn't last very long. Let's go. America's first president, George Washington, 1789-97. Very tall for his time, he stood at 6 foot 2 inches and was known for being unnaturally strong. The only president to not live in the White House, and probably the only president to have teeth made of ivory and metal. John Adams, the second president, 1797 to 1801. The White House was at least livable by his reign, so Adams was the first president to live in the White House. He strongly opposed slavery and loved reading so much he built his own personal, impressive library. Thomas Jefferson, author of the Declaration of Independence, was the third in office, 1801-09. Jefferson is who organized and sent Lewis and Clark on their famous expedition. He had a massive love for architecture, and after his term he founded the University of Virginia, designing the campus and curriculum himself. James Madison, tiny president, huge impact. Standing at 5 foot 4 inches, James Madison was the 4th U.S. president, 1809 to 17, and still the shortest president to this day. Nicknamed Father of the Constitution, he was a major factor in the drafting and promoting of the U.S. Constitution and Bill of Rights. James Monroe, President #5, 1817 to 25, had a famous doctrine, a bold statement that said, "Europe, stay out of our hemisphere." The face of the $2 bill? He's not seen much anymore these days, which probably hurts his soul, as he took fashion very seriously and was an icon in his day. Taking over as the 6th president, 1825 to 29, John Quincy Adams. Adams knew how to speak in over 7 languages, fought heavily against slavery far after his presidency. Unfortunately, Adams is the only president to have died in the U.S. Capitol after he suffered a stroke and passed 2 days later. 7th president, 1829 to 37, Andrew Jackson, a war hero and populist icon, was also a man whose legacy is forever entwined with the Trail of Tears. Leading U.S. forces to victory over the British in 1812 war, he was the target of the first attempted presidential assassination, but the gun misfired, and Jackson famously fought back with his cane despite being in poor health. Martin Van Buren, the 8th U.S. president, 1837 to 41. Being the first president born as a citizen and not as a British subject, it was funny that his native Dutch made him the only president to speak English with an accent. Unlike Donald Trump, Buren ran for presidency again years later but didn't win. William Henry Harrison was the 9th president, 1841, though it wasn't for long. William Henry Harrison, the president who gave the longest inaugural address, promptly died a month later. President #10 John Tyler, 1841 to 45, the accidental president who made history. The vice president who became president under tragic circumstances, and then spent his term battling his own party. He was a skilled lawyer and politician, and in addition to the expansion of Texas, Tyler helped lay the groundwork for westward expansion by supporting the annexation of other territories, strengthening the nation's borders. James K. Polk was the 10th president to take office, 1845 to 49. A one-term president who achieved everything he set out to do, expanded America from coast to coast. The 12th president, 1849 to 50, Zachary Taylor, was another war hero president whose sudden death left a nation in mourning and a political void. His death, only 16 months into his term, was widely speculated to be caused by contaminated food or water. President #13, 1850 to 53, Millard Fillmore, tried holding back the storm, but the Civil War loomed. He personally helped organize and stock the shelves with books, and was a key figure in founding the University at Buffalo, which remains one of New York's largest public universities. Franklin Pierce, the 14th president, 1853 to 57, which was marred by tragedy and division. The youngest president at the time, age 48, Pierce and his wife lost their only surviving child 2 months after taking office. A publicly known alcoholic, Franklin Pierce was denied renomination by the Democratic Party. James Buchanan, the president who didn't stop a civil war. As the 15th president, 1857 to 61, he is still the only president to have never been married. Being nearly blind in his left eye, Buchanan is widely known as one of the worst presidents for his failure to prevent the Civil War and his support for Southern states' rights. America's 16th president, 1861 to 65, Abraham Lincoln, was a rather interesting person. He held the nation together during its darkest hour and redefined what it means to be American. Lincoln famously used his top hat to hold important documents, notes, and speeches. He was an avid cat lover who goes down as the first president to be assassinated. Andrew Johnson, the 17th president, 1865 to 69. The first president to ever be impeached, narrowly avoided removal from office by just one vote in the Senate. He was self-taught, having never attended school, and was criticized after purchasing Alaska from Russia for $7.2 million, which later proved to be a great bargain. Hash 18, 1869 to 77, Ulysses S. Grant, the Civil War hero, whose presidency was tarnished by corruption and the ongoing struggles of Reconstruction. The president to pass the Ku Klux Klan Act of 1871 that successfully weakened the Klan during his time in office. He smoked up to 20 cigars a day, and while president got arrested for speeding in his horse carriage. Rutherford B. Hayes, who won the presidency in a disputed election, was the first president, President 19, 1877 to 1881, to graduate from law school. In addition to installing the first telephone, Hayes also oversaw improvements in plumbing and heating at the White House, helping to modernize the building, a house he shared with his pet goat. The 20th president, 1881, James Garfield, was tragically assassinated just months into his term. Doctors repeatedly probed his wound with unsterilized instruments, which led to deadly infections. Chester A. Arthur, who defied expectations by becoming a champion of civil service reform after Garfield's assassination, became the 21st president, 1881 to 85. Known for his dapper fashion, he was known for wearing a high collar and tailcoats, earning him the nickname the Gentleman Boss. Hash 22, 1885 to 89, Grover Cleveland, the only president to serve 2 non-consecutive terms before Donald Trump, was known for his honesty and commitment to fiscal conservatism. The 23rd president, 1889 to 93, Benjamin Harrison, sandwiched between Cleveland's 2 terms, was a strong advocate for civil rights, and he signed treaties to expand U.S. territory, including the acquisition of Hawaii's rights for future annexation and the addition of 6 new states. Hash 24, 1893 to 97, Grover Cleveland returns for round 2, facing a severe economic depression and growing social unrest. William McKinley, the 25th president, 1897 to 1901, led the nation into the 20th century and a new era of global power, only to be cut down by an assassin. Known for his gentle and compassionate nature, he strongly supported protective tariffs to shield American industries from foreign competition. Theodore Roosevelt, the trustbuster, conservationist, and Rough Rider. Theodore Roosevelt was just 42 when he was elected as the 26th president, 1901-09, the youngest president to date. An adventurer and outdoorsman, Roosevelt created the National Park System. William Howard Taft, Roosevelt's hand-picked successor to be President Hash 27, 1909 to 13, later achieved his lifelong dream of serving on the Supreme Court. He is the heaviest president to date, weighing a little over 300 pounds, had a hearty appetite, and was a big fan of roast beef, ice cream, and pastries. Woodrow Wilson, President Hash 28, 1913 to 21, led the nation through World War I and championed the League of Nations, though ultimately it wasn't ratified by the U.S. Woodrow Wilson was the only president with a Ph.D. in political science from Johns Hopkins. He was a strong advocate for progressive reforms and was a master of public speaking. President Hash 29, 1921 to 23, Warren G. Harding. Harding's presidential campaign slogan, "Return to Normalcy," was one of the most famous in American political history. He appointed the first female cabinet member and had an affinity for the sport of golf. The 30th president, 1923 to 29, Calvin Coolidge, was a man of few words and presided over the economic boom of the Roaring Twenties. Coolidge kept a very small circle of friends, one of his best friends being his pet raccoon. Herbert Hoover, the 31st president, 1929 to 33, had his time in office shattered by the onset of the Great Depression, despite his best efforts to combat it. As a self-made millionaire through his career in mining engineering, he was the first president to own a private airplane. Franklin Delano Roosevelt, President #32, 1933 to 45, is the only president elected 4 times. Roosevelt led the nation out of the Great Depression and World War II, and was a deep believer in the power of the government. President #33, 1945 to 53, Harry S. Truman, made the momentous decision to use atomic bombs to end World War II and navigated the early years of the Cold War. Truman was just a regular guy from Missouri before becoming vice president with no prior political experience. Dwight D. Eisenhower, the World War II hero who oversaw a period of economic prosperity and initiated the interstate highway system, was the 34th president, 1953 to 61. Eisenhower was known for his calm leadership and was the first president to appear on live television to communicate directly with American people. The 35th president, 1961 to 63, John F. Kennedy, was another president to be assassinated. John F. Kennedy was a huge James Bond fan, and while in office he set a goal to land on the moon, which ignited the U.S. space program. Lyndon B. Johnson, the 36th president, 1963 to 69, dramatically increased U.S. involvement in the Vietnam War, leading to widespread protests and a deep division in the country. Johnson also signed the Civil Rights Act of 1964. President #37, 1969 to 74, Richard Nixon, is the only president to resign. Nixon ran for president twice before winning, and in the one who ended the Vietnam War. Gerald Ford, President #38, 1974 to 77, pardoned Nixon and attempted to restore faith in the presidency after the Watergate scandal. Ford was an Eagle Scout, a college football player, and worked as a model all before he became president. President #39, 1977 to 81, Jimmy Carter played a crucial role in the near eradication of guinea worm disease, a debilitating parasitic infection. He was a peanut farmer and also won a Nobel Peace Prize in 2002. Ronald Reagan, President #40, 1981 to 89, was a lifeguard in his early days who supposedly saved 77 lives. Known as the Great Communicator, Reagan played a pivotal role helping end the Cold War. George H.W. Bush, President #41, 1989 to 93. George H.W. Bush, who presided over the fall of the Berlin Wall and led the nation to victory in the Persian Gulf War. Bush was a star athlete at Yale and served as a director of the CIA before becoming vice president and then president. Bill Clinton, President #42, 1993 to 2001, the New Democrat who presided over an era of economic prosperity and technological innovation. Clinton was acquitted after facing impeachment and has written multiple best-selling books. President #43, George W. Bush's presidency was forever shaped by the 9/11 attacks and the subsequent War on Terror. He was a cheerleader at his prep high school and loved to pull pranks on his friends and family. President #44, 2009 to 2017, Barack Obama was the first African-American president who signed the Affordable Care Act and oversaw the end of the Iraq War. He worked at Baskin-Robbins as a kid and was the president of the Harvard Law Review during his time at Harvard. Donald Trump, whose unconventional presidency sparked intense political and social divisions, was the 45th U.S. president, 2017 to 2021. Trump once owned the Miss Universe pageant and has been the accused of many lawsuits. Joe Biden, who took office amid a global pandemic and focused on economic recovery and national unity, was the 46th president, 2021-2025. Biden is the oldest president ever taking office at 78 and passed the Violence Against Women Act in 1994. From metal teeth to Sleepy Joe, we've seen it all. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more fascinating videos. Which president's story surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments.